Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibzuda7 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 vlog here today. In this video, I'm going to be going over this week's update and patch notes. We do have another Ninja Strike this week, number 23, which they have labeled Scattershot, which basically, I think, in their eyes means they've just fixed a bunch of random stuff. Sorry this video is coming out quite late. It's Wednesday night at this point. Main reason for that is because I have had some family folks visiting at my house, and I've been a bit busy hanging out with them and doing stuff. It's been first time we've been able to meet up since the whole pandemic situation, so yeah, nice to have that opportunity and stuff like that, but kind of delayed the video by a few days, but we do have it coming out now. And I'm also going to talk about my thoughts on the God Wars 3 batch release in this video, which I meant to make a video on that last week, but the time just kind of got away from me. I don't know. I have been a bit busy the past couple of weeks, but yeah. Anyways, let's get into this week's updates. It is just in the patch notes basically. So on the main page, it just says that there's a Ninja Strike number 23. Gives you a couple of hints as to what is in there, but mainly says it's in the patch notes. And then they also say there's some mobile interface tweaks. Apparently there's a couple things they changed on the mobile interface. I'm going to turn off this public chat. People are spamming. But yeah, they made some changes to the mobile interface that people were asking for. So I saw some people on Reddit were pretty happy with that. And of course, with mobile being live for everyone at this point, it is, it's good to see that they're going to be updating it to keep up with any requests that people do have. And I think one thing that a lot of people have issues with is their phones are like overheating or getting really hot while you're playing. For me, all I did to fix that, I just went into the settings and turned all the graphics settings down. I think I hit like the lowest possible setting, whatever. I think it's just called low, right, in the graphics. Yeah. Oh, minimum even. I put it down to minimum, and then that completely resolved the issue of my phone getting hot. So I don't know if any of you guys play on mobile for anything and you have issues with your phone overheating. I would just turn all your graphic settings down to minimum. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, at least in my opinion, I don't really care a whole lot what the game looks like on mobile. I guess for someone who only plays on mobile, like if you're a newer player, that would be a less ideal option. But either way, that is something that solved it for me. I think they're going to try and work on it in the future, but I don't know how well they'll be able to optimize it to make it not make your phone heat up. I mean, my phone would heat up when playing, Pokemon Go, which I think is, I mean, you could make an argument either way on looks, but I would think that would be a less demanding game than RuneScape on your phone. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see if they're able to make any progress with that. But anyways, let's jump into the patch notes then, since that is all that was on the main update page. The first thing they talk about in Ninja Strike number 23 here is a lot more pets that are being put into the pet interface, and also you're now able to override your legendary pet with any of the, override pets, companion, boss, skilling. And I'm pretty sure people have wanted this to be a thing forever. I don't really remember when I first saw this cropping up, but people have really wanted this to be an option as long as I can remember, and they finally have done it. I've actually never used a legendary pet. I do have, I guess maybe I did, because this one is adult. I don't actually know how it works in terms of how they grow up and stuff. But and then I got this one for. I definitely don't think I've ever used this one. So maybe it just grows up when you have it. I have no idea. I actually have no idea how these pet growths work, but I never actually remember using one for anything. I know they can like fetch drops for you and stuff like that. Maybe this will tell me more. They're a special type of pet. Yeah, they have growths. Yeah, they grow over time, which I guess they don't need to be summoned to grow, I assume, given that mine are all adults. Oh, yeah, you can just click on abilities. Okay, I get you. Let's see what they can do. Yeah, find items for you, take an item to the bank for you, collect the most expensive item from monsters you kill. That's one of the ones people like to use a lot while AFKing. It'll pick up your loot for you generally. Lifesaver, wow. Is that like an extra sign of life? Finish off any Slayer monsters that require an item. Wow, that's some kind of strong... that one's random. Some kind of strong abilities here. You can have it be a beast of burden for you, high elk stuff, and create super compost, I guess. So they do have quite a lot of useful abilities. I just don't know if you can get them at all without having to buy them with like rune coins. I don't remember how I got this blood pouncer thing, but I know that this one was from like some Twitch Prime promotion, which I already had through like Amazon Prime. So anyways, I've talked way too much about legendary pets, but I've never really used them, but I know a lot of people do, and now you can override the legendary pet with other pets. So yay for that. They've also added a few more pets that were previously objects into the interface. This includes the chameleon pet and also the raccoon pet. So you'll no longer be able to get chameleon eggs after you received the chameleon pet and unlocked it in the interface, and you will still be able to catch raccoons in box traps after you get the raccoon pet, but you will not be able to get additional pets. So let me see if these show up. Oh, they do. Oh, there's different colors of raccoon. Yeah, this one can be caught by catching a gray baby raccoon in a box trap, and you need apparently 80 summoning and then only 27 hunter. So you can catch all these raccoons, and then chameleon is just one thing, which you need to get a chameleon egg and then incubate it in the pet shop with a summoning level of 90 or higher. Kind of ugly. But yeah, those are now in the interface, which it's good to they're slowly moving the pets out of the inventory items and into the interface, so everything's consolidated. So yeah, that's that for the object and legendary pet updates. The big one that has everyone talking and that everyone's been waiting for this week are the Grimoire page changes, basically, and a couple of additions to Solok's drop table. So yeah, this has been something that we've been waiting on for a very long time, for such a seemingly very small change and something that's not all that significant, you would think, or difficult to change. It has taken quite a while for this to take place. So yeah, basically what we've been waiting for is they've said that they would add Torn Grimoire pages to the Lost Grove Creature Slayer tasks for you to get as drops to help to reduce their price. Because right now, I don't think I actually have any. I think I sold them off, when they were really high priced. Does this still? Oh, it's nice that still works. So you can see 5.5 mil GE price right now. They've been higher, they've been lower, but either way, they are extremely expensive. That gives you a 45-minute increase, or 45 minutes on your Grimoire. So you factor that in. You have to add in another third of that price, so a little under 2 mil. To equate for a full hour. So it's basically like almost 7 mil an hour just to use the Grimoire, which is absolutely insane. Now, obviously the Grimoire is extremely, extremely strong, especially with the new Smoke Cloud spell that's just been released. So, I mean, you can make the argument that it should be at least expensive to use, but 7 mil an hour, I think, is kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. But yeah, that was the goal with these changes, basically, is to make them come into the game more and make the price go down at least a little bit. But the way they've done it, that's not really going to happen. Let me just look it up really quick to verify the drop rates that I remember seeing on the wiki. Yeah, so the drop rates are pretty bad for these Grimoire pages. I don't know how many of you have done Lost Grove creature tasks, but in my experience, you generally will get a little over 100 of them per task. Let me see what it says on the Laniakia Slayer table. Lost Grove. Yeah, it says she assigns from 100 to 120 Lost Grove creatures at a time. And the drop rate for a Torn Grimoire page on task is 1 in 512. So you'll only get one page about every 4.5 tasks on average, which is pretty bad considering you're obviously not getting back-to-back Lost Grove creatures tasks. And the tasks do take a decent amount of time as well, unless you're like cannon barraging moss golems, which I don't think a lot of people do. But yeah, that is a pretty bad drop rate. I would expect maybe they should be 1 in 128, so you can maybe expect 1 per task, or at the worst 1 in 256 on task, because that is pretty bad regardless of how you look at it. And it's actually even worse off task. It's 1 in 1536, so 1 in 1500 off task, and so you're basically, there's no point in killing them off task if you're going to be trying to go for the Grimoire pages. I feel like 1 in 512 should be the off task rate maybe, and 1 in 128 be the on task rate. I mean, if they really don't want you to do them off task, then you can make like 1 in 1K off, but still, I think it should be way better on task personally. But we'll have to see how it shakes out. I mean, like I said, it's 1 page every 4 to 5 tasks on average, which is really bad. Just because you just got to think about how often are you really getting and doing those tasks. Like, I guess if you take that task every time you get offered it, I mean, what's the weighting on it here? Let's see. What does it say? The weighting is 12. So it is actually one of the more common tasks. Whoops. I was trying to sort the weighting by... Yeah, it's actually joint most common task, tied with 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's tied with 4 other tasks for the most common. So, I mean, you will get offered it a decent amount, but it's still not that great, honestly. No matter which way you try and rationalize it out, because you'll have to do at least some tasks in between there. So let's say you're using VIP tickets and you're skipping sometimes, and maybe 50% of the tasks you complete are Lost Grove creature tasks. So you'll get 1 page every 10 Slayer tasks you do. I mean, 10 Slayer tasks is like a whole day of Slayer for someone like me who's lazy and will just go mess off, get a drink, get a snack, sleep on the stairs for an hour in between every tasks. Yeah, you got to think about it that way. It's not like you're killing these constantly with this drop rate. So, yeah, I've kind of ranted on this for a little while now, but honestly, they really, I feel like, either have to reduce the drop rate or increase the drop rate rather even more on the Lost Grove creatures, or update Solok in some way so that maybe make it like Rise with the Six, where he drops 1 page always and then gives 2 like 50% of the time. Maybe something like that could be a useful way to go about it, so that you'll at least be always getting them. Like, I remember I've done quite a bit of Solok, like last year mainly. I did a decent amount of Solok duoing, pretty much only duoing I did. And let's see, so I have 698 KC and I have 219 Grimoire pages, so that's less than a third of the kills gives me 1 Grimoire page on average, which is really, really low. And I remember several times going a full hour without getting a single page myself, so it is pretty bad, and definitely could use an increase from the boss itself, especially considering they're being dropped from these Slayer monsters now. The boss could see, an increase in the pages dropped. And another thing people have asked for quite a bit, which I'm not sure, how I fall on that, because it will definitely increase the price of the Grimoire itself, I would think, but I'm not 100% sure how, it would all relate. People want to be able to break down the Grimoire token thingy. I guess I don't even know if it's a token anymore, but break down the Grimoire into pages to bring more into the game. I think I saw on Reddit, someone said at current prices, a Grimoire is worth 87 pages if you divide and all that. So obviously they wouldn't make it break down into 87 pages. Maybe something like 75 or 100, somewhere in that range would make sense. But I don't think I've seen any comments from Jagex on if they're going to be doing anything else, changing the drop rates or updating Solok again to make his drops better. But with this, I just don't see it affecting the prices much, if at all, given how few you're going to be getting from these Slayer tasks. And I guess to add insult to injury, they did bother going in and updating some of Solok's drops during this update. Instead of changing the Grimoire pages from him, though, they've made it so you get more Banite Stone Spirits when they drop and more Light Animica Stone Spirits when they drop. So that is great. Everybody loves stone spirits, and it's barely even different. Like, it's just slightly more. And they also say that you'll now get Baneite stone spirits less often and light and stone spirits more often. And they've also updated tiny spiky rune salvage to be medium bladed rune salvage, which I guess will be worth a little more on average. And the battle staves drop has been changed out to Mystic Earth battle staves, which will drop in quantities of 30 to 50. So some very small tweaks to his commons that are going to make little to no impact on the GP per hour. And I can't see the pages being affected. Like, I bet the GP per hour at Solok is going to be staying nearly the exact same, because the pages are going to go down barely at all, and these drop increases are going to increase the average kill price barely at all. So yeah, pretty big flop for me and for most people. I'm not really too worried about, spending money on using a Grimoire myself, because I don't really use it. I probably will if I do go for Gold Warden, but at the moment I don't have a huge need for it, because I don't really go for like super speed kills. I kind of do, casual high level PVM, however casual you can be. Obviously I do use it at Solok because it's free to use, which is good. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Solok and Lost Grove changes. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I haven't seen anybody arguing in favor of it. So yeah, I don't really know if anyone actually does think it is enough, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. And then they had a couple things in general QOL, mostly around a couple more teleport items. They added some tooltip to the Enchanted Lyre, and now there's an interface option to change the quick teleport destination instead of a dialog box. And they did basically the same thing with the Fremennik Sea Boots. One thing that I thought people were liking was the achievements menu will now remember what you were looking at when you close and reopen it. So say I'm working on some achievement. Okay, well, I've done all those. Say I'm working on some random achievement. I'm looking at Calfight Queen, and I want to do, this whatever, defeat 2 Calfight Guardians while fighting the Calfight Queen. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do that. And then it's like, okay, I got to gear up, got to go over there, got to get to the instance. And I'm like, wait, what was it I had to do again? And then I can just open it back up. And look at that. I'm right back here on the page again. So that's actually a very, very nice quality of life change, especially considering how many different categories of achievements there are. And you might forget which category what you were looking at is in, and, get a little confused with yourself. So yeah, I'm pretty happy to see that for sure. That's a nice little thing that they snuck in at the bottom of the patch notes if you missed it. And then they had a bunch of mobile tweaks, which I don't really feel like looking at because it's mostly just bug fixes and nothing really that important. They had a whole section here as well for the City of Sentiston ancient magic spells that came out. I guess it was last week, right? They actually reduced the rune cost of Exsanguinate quite a lot. It was previously 5 fire runes, 3 blood runes, and a death rune. They removed the death rune completely, reduced the blood runes from 3 to 1, and the fire runes from 5 to 2. So it is now cheaper than Blood Barrage by 3 fires and 1 blood. And obviously it is generally stronger than Blood Barrage, aside from if you're doing AoE damage. But of course, it's important to note that this will be using up runes for the spell every time you're gaining stacks. So still not going to be cheaper to use than Blood Barrage overall, of course, but definitely not as crazy expensive as it was on release. So I guess that's good, but I still think that having it take the runes every time you stack it is too much. And this doesn't really address the main issue, which wasn't really with Exsanguinate. It's mostly with Insight Fear and these other spells. Like I guess Animate Dead would fall into that, but it lasts for 12 minutes, so it's kind of reasonable. But mainly like with Smoke Cloud, how it uses 5 soul runes, then Insight Fear of course uses 1 soul rune every time you are using a stack or getting a stack. So soul runes are really, really limited in the game at this point. I mean, I have 20k in here, obviously, but I bought those up. They're almost 3k each, which is insane for a rune. I mean, I think the next closest would probably be blood runes of ones that you use regularly, and those are 650, and have probably been inflated a bit by the increase in prices from these new spells. The problem basically is that the soul rune crafting at the soul altar is so freaking slow. I think you only get like 400 or 500 an hour at best, which is awful because you have to sit there and charge the altar, which takes forever. But with blood runes, I mean, I don't know how many you can craft an hour, but it's a hell of a lot more than 400 or 500 easily, especially with like the archaeology relic that takes you straight to the center of the abyss and all the different ways of movement that you can do now. You can probably get a ton of runes per hour doing that. Through the abyss. So I think they need to do something about that because soul runes are really starting to become a pretty big limiter, and they're going to be, they're only going to keep going up in price, in my opinion, because barely anything drops them, and the crafting is so slow. So yeah, I mean, they should add that to some high-level bosses as drops, because I know they back, it's probably years ago at this point, but they went through at some point and removed a lot of rune drops from bosses. Like Nex, I think, used to have rune drops. They removed those because they wanted rune crafting to be worth doing again. And it did help. I mean, I think doing blood runes to make money is actually not too bad. But they and it makes sense because you can, that might have also been when they updated Abyss rune crafting to be good XP again and did all that, but I don't remember exactly. But the problem is they basically completely backpedaled or reverted that stance when it came to soul runes and the release of the soul altar with the Menaphos quests, because how slow you craft them. So no matter what, you're going to be barely getting any soul runes into the game, and doing 400 or 500 an hour at 3k a piece is not going to be that great no matter what. So there comes a point where they might just want to add the soul runes back to boss drop tables anyway. I've seen that spiritual warriors just farming them is much better soul runes power than crafting them. So yeah, that's just something I thought I'd bring up. Soul runes are a pretty big limiter and issue that need to be addressed at some point. Maybe God Wars 3 will just drop a plethora of soul runes. People are also saying similar things about Hydrix bolt tips, which have been getting eaten alive by greater ricochet usage. They thought that they could use an increase on those at the Solak drop table, or also wines of Ceradomin, which are of course used to make super brews. How much are those going for nowadays? I'm just taking a quick look on the wiki. 166k each. Jesus Christ, bro. Those have gone up recently. That is expensive. Have I sold mine off? I think I did, unfortunately, off my drop tab. Oh, no, I still have a decent amount of them. Yeah, that is crazy, though. That is a crazy price for those things. So maybe God Wars 3 will have Hydrix bolt tips and Ceradomin. 40k each. What? Hold on. Hold the phone. Let me check the freaking wiki on that graph. Oh my god! I wish you guys could see this graph. That is ridiculous. Yeah, right when Raksha came out, they were like 10k each. They were like Alk price almost. What's the Alk price? I examined it, but I didn't look at that. 6k each. Yeah, they were like 9, 10k each-ish. And then right when Raksha came out, it just started going up and up and up. And then it went up to like 17k, then went down for a bit, and then it's up. It peaked at over 50k earlier this month. Oh my lord. I didn't know they went up that much. I made a freaking massive profit off of these things. I should sell them. So yeah, that definitely needs some sort of something to be addressed with that. That's crazy how expensive those are. Jeez. So sorry, I just found that out. That was something surprising to me to see that for sure. Wow. So that must mean Onyx bolt tips have gone up as well, because those are used. Oh, I guess not. Well, it shows what I know. But yeah, that's just some random stuff talking about drops, I guess, and soul runes. I kind of went off on a random rant about that when I talked about the rune changes. A couple of other things. There was some issues with Insight Fear and Exsanguinate losing stacks at boss transitions, like I think at Telos 4 to 5. transition, it would be lost in a couple of other places, so they fixed that. They also had an issue with Animate Dead being lost when you teleported some places, which has been fixed. I don't know what that was. And yeah, that's pretty much it from that. And I don't think there was anything in this other section. Yeah, just some random bug fixes. So that is it for this week. Definitely a longer video than I was anticipating making on just those topics, but I do quickly want to touch on the God Wars 3 release cycle that they're doing, because I wanted to talk about that. And yeah, I'll just throw this in here. So apologies for the long video, or maybe some people like it better this way, but I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot to show on the screen. This video mostly just been me rambling and ranting about random things. But yeah, the big thing that was revealed a couple weeks back at this point, I think, was the fact that God Wars 3 is going to be released in 4 batches, basically. The first one is coming, I guess, technically this month, since it's basically July. July will be having the first, they're calling them fronts, which obviously, you know, you look at God Wars 1, God Wars 2, you have the 4 faction areas. So you got it goes to assume that each of these will be one of those types of things. So they're going to be releasing it in 4 parts like that. And yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. There's no other way to put it. It is disappointing to see. I mean, we were expecting God Wars 3 last year in the summer at some point. Of course, with the pandemic and everything, that it's reasonable that it was pushed back. But yeah, you know, it's basically a year later. You would have hoped that they would have at least been able to work on it enough such that they could release it all at once. But apparently that is not the case, and we're going to be getting it one boss, one front at a time. Now, there's 2 ways it could shake out as far as I can see it. And basically, this is how I think about it, because they have mentioned some things about Slayer and skilling being involved, which I think is worth noting. Because if they release the first front and it is literally the same as like God Wars 1 or God Wars 2, where it's just a bunch of random monsters around fighting each other that you have to kill to get kill count and then go kill the boss, that I'll be really disappointed with that, and that will suck pretty massively, because basically they're batching out the release of the dungeon that is the same scale as like any of the other God Wars dungeons. But if it's bigger in scale, like if each one of these fronts has, you know, something to do with skilling related to it, maybe like new Slayer monsters, I don't know, that's probably already pushing it too much. But and I guess it also depends on like the complexity of these bosses. Like, are they going to be similar or slightly harder than God Wars 2 bosses? If so, kind of disappointing. Or are they going to be, you know, something on the level of like a Raksha boss fight? Because that would be, in my opinion, pretty decent and worth splitting out, because having 4 new bosses of that level at one day would be a little bit much, but also really exciting. I don't know. Also, it's going to be weird to see what the first front has for unique drops. Like, are we going to be able to know what the others will drop as a result, or is it going to be new stuff every time that we're not going to be, you know, expecting? I don't know. Is there going to be a stupid rep system like there is at God Wars 2, which I don't like because it's just annoying, and I don't have full rep, and I can't get Avernate components because of it, because I'm lazy, and I really need to do that so I can get my lunging. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it, I guess. So if it is just a single front like it is here at God Wars 2 or elsewhere, or at God Wars 1, that'll be really, really disappointing. But if it's bigger in scale, or if the bosses are quite complicated or difficult, then I think I would give it a pass, like give them a pass on it at least a little bit. But at the same time, it's important to think about how this is going to be our update for the next 4 months. So they are releasing it 4 months in a row. So 1 this month, then August, September, October. So we're going to get no other real updates, maybe aside from Ninja Strikes, other than other than these God Wars or God Wars 3 fronts every month. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have additional content coming down the pipe in, you know, November, December, because of all this supposed extra time they would have when they're only releasing the God Wars things. So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts on it. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. I really wasn't expecting it, which is probably my biggest, I guess, disappointment. Like, I thought they didn't want to do these batching BS anymore, but apparently it is being done for God Wars 3 here. So yeah, really disappointing, honestly, just because it kind of came out of nowhere. It was like, hey, we're gonna, by the way, guys, we only got one front coming out next month, so strap in. It's like, whatever, man. Come on. You serious? I don't know. Anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you did enjoy it. Again, pretty long one. Sorry for the random tangents I went off on at various times. I apologize for that. Sometimes I just end up wandering off down a path, and you know, sometimes I don't even notice when I'm deviating so much from what I started talking about. You guys can let me know your thoughts on these in the comments. What do you think about the Solok changes, the Lost Grove creatures drop rates of the pages, and the God Wars 3 batching? I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.